All right, the next app tutorial I have for you is Betterment. So Betterment is going to help you automate your investing and put it on autopilot for you so you don't have to do anything yourself and you don't have to know anything, which is pretty amazing for those of you who are overwhelmed by the prospect of investing. So like I said, some investing problems that you might have are that investing feels overwhelming and confusing, and therefore you just don't even want to deal with it. And that's really a shame because it being complicated and overwhelming you and confusing you and keeping you away from investing is actually hurting your financial future. Another problem you might have with investing is that you end up paying too many fees to middlemen. There's too many people charging you fees and taking money away from you, which hurts your wealth in the long run too. And that can even be from financial advisors who are charging you too much for too little value. It could be just the fact that investing feels too time-consuming for you and you don't want to be spending all that time on it. Or if you just feel that investing is not fun and it's really boring, so you don't want to have to spend any time on it. Any or all of these reasons are things that are keeping you away from investing and hurting your growth in wealth. Because the true key to wealth is not saving, but saving and then investing, and then building wealth on top of your existing savings. So what we want to do is make your investing automatic and automate your investing so that it's easy and straightforward, it's inexpensive, very little time is required, and it creates passive income for you, where effectively your wealth is growing on your behalf without you actively having to invest time, energy, and resources to grow it yourself. It's effectively being done for you. So the action plan here is 5 steps. This will take you 20 to 30 minutes maybe to set this up. This is seriously the most valuable 30 minutes you can spend in your finances if you're not currently investing. This will grow your savings and multiply your money without you even having to do any work. So put this time in, it's so worth it. Step 1 is we're going to have you create an account with Betterment. That'll take us maybe 10 minutes. Step 2, you're going to set up your portfolio. That's maybe 5 minutes. Step 3, you'll link in your bank account so that you can transfer money in later. That'll take you a couple minutes. Step 4, you have to wait a few days for your identity to be verified. This is for federal regulations and safety and money laundering and stuff like that. So you have to wait a few days. Once you get confirmed, you can do step 5, which is to transfer money into your account and then have it invested. The money transfer will take you 5 minutes. Might take a day or two to actually get the money transferred in there. But anyway. All right, so on to step 1, to create your account with Betterment. Go to betterment.com, and then in the top right corner, you can click Get Started. They try to personalize it, but let's be honest, we know Alex is a robot, so don't even pretend. Betterment. Anyway, click Continue. It's going to ask you, are you retired? I'm assuming no, so click No and then Continue. They'll ask you what type of account you're trying to open. You have the flexibility with Betterment to do different or multiple types of accounts. So you can do regular accounts or retirement accounts or both. You can actually do whatever you want. If you just want to invest some money on the side that you'll need before retirement, you just want it to grow for a couple years or whatever, then just do an individual taxable account. Or if you're married, do a joint taxable account. But if you want to invest money without having to pay tax on the gains every year and you can wait until retirement to use it, then you can go ahead and put it into an IRA account instead, and that'll defer the taxes on the gains in the account. So you can do an IRA instead. So select the type of account that you want to open right now. Then there's a bunch of questions that they have to ask you just for regulation's sake, which it doesn't really matter what you answer. They just have to ask you these questions for regulation's sake. Theoretically, the reason they do this is because they change the investments they will put you in depending on your answer. It looks like they order it here in terms of time horizon. So saving for retirement will have the longest time horizon, and saving for a major purchase will have the shortest time horizon. Select whatever you feel is relevant for you here and then continue. Again, the answer to this doesn't really matter, but if you're currently investing, say yes. If not, no. It doesn't really matter. And then continue. They ask you what your investable assets are. Again, doesn't matter. You can just go ahead and put 0 here because they don't need to know this. And then continue. They ask how you're currently investing. You can just say you're doing it yourself or whatever is relevant. Continue. Okay, so human robot Alex says, we're great. Let's review. Scroll down and you can click forward. It'll ask for your email and to create a password, so put those in and continue. Fill out your name, your phone number, and your address. And then for identity verification, you actually do need to provide your social security number and your birthday and gender, and then you can go ahead and continue. Put in your employment status and your income. The reason they have to ask this is to check the box as an investment advisor. Your answer to the income question here is not important, but the reason they have to ask is so that they can make suitable investment recommendations to you. But that actually doesn't matter for our case, so it just doesn't matter at all. Do you want to do a joint account? Just say no if you're just an individual. And like I said before, you can be setting up just a regular individual account, or you can be setting up a retirement account. And what's cool is you can actually roll over your old 401ks or IRAs into Betterment if you want, and you'll be able to use their services through this. So if you want, here you can go ahead and say yes to roll over old accounts. But for now, let's say no, so you can just deal with that later. They have to ask you a couple of regulatory questions just to make sure you're not a super spicy investor. So if you're not employed by a broker-dealer, you say no. As long as you're not a 10% shareholder in a company, you can say no. And if you have nothing going on with the IRS, you can say no and then continue. Then you have to pick 2 security questions for your account and put in the answers there. So that's the account creation, and you're set up with step 1, so you can continue. And then that moves us on to step 2, which is to then set up your portfolio. But don't worry, it's super simple, and you don't really have to know anything about investments. So this is how simple it is. Betterment essentially only has 2 offerings. Their regular portfolio, and then one that excludes certain kinds of companies that don't fit into their socially responsible portfolio. Just keep it simple, just do the regular one and continue. So then it'll take you to a screen where it'll show you what specific investments it's going to distribute your money into. Based on how you answered the questions earlier, it'll set you up with their recommended portfolio for you. So it's going to do everything for you, so you won't have to worry about numbers, how much money you're putting where, or what shares, or you don't have to worry about any of those details. All you have to know is that your money will be extremely, extremely diversified into very low-cost investments where you're paying as little low fees as possible. But if you want to get a little bit more information on these things, you can do your own due diligence and look up the actual funds. Most of them are Vanguard funds that you can do some research on for yourself. So if you want, you can click on each of the different investments that it's going to put you in, and you can see what it's all about. So for example, if I take a look at the first one, I can see that it is the Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund. So when it ends up investing in this on my behalf, I basically end up owning a small piece of almost the entire stock market, basically. The amazing thing is how low cost it is. Here they're saying that the fund costs 0.04% per year to run, which is so low. A lot of funds will charge multiple percents. Like if you tried to invest in mutual funds or other funds, you'd be paying multiple percent per year in those things. So these are dirt cheap, which is exactly what you want for long-term investing. So really, with Betterment, you don't have that much flexibility in terms of what you can invest in. You don't really have discretion over what you're investing in. They put you in their standard portfolio, and then they just adjust how much goes into what investment based on your risk profile. So here you can review your allocation. And depending on your age, your investment objectives, and whatnot, it'll have you set up on a certain risk profile, which you can see there on the left underneath the pie chart. I'd say if you're under 40 and saving for retirement, you want to crank your risk profile up as much as possible. Remember, people don't get rich by not taking any risk. And remember, the maximum risk here in Betterment is still an extremely diversified stock portfolio, which means that you're not going to lose everything that you have. It's put in tons of different buckets, so the maximum risk is still not very risky, in all honesty. So crank that all the way up to more risk as far as you can move it to the right. The younger you are, you want to be taking risk. If you were really close to retirement, yeah, you might want to scale it back down to less risk. Then you can click Finish your setup. So like I said, it'll let you review that before it's set and show you the expected performance over time based on history. You drag that little ball all the way over to the right, and that will change how it allocates your money into those different little investments, which you saw earlier. It'll give you a little notification that your overall risk is too aggressive, but they have to say that as investment advisors. And like I said, it's super diversified as it is. So if you're younger than 40, you want to grow your investments as much as possible. And even with the most aggressive setting, your money will be spread over hundreds of different investments. So yeah, just crank up that risk. So here you can type in how much you want to transfer in to be invested. But just for simplicity's sake, just to show you what it would look like, if I type in here $1, it's going to show me a graph over time of the growth of $1 based on the expected returns of my portfolio based on the risk profile settings that I set and how the investments will be distributed. So you get to take a look at that there over time and how much that would turn into. Remember, though, that the point of your investing is really to be building wealth and saving for the future, and it takes a long time, but it's powerful in the long run. So if you think about it, your investments are your retirement savings vehicle. So once you're comfortable with how Betterment works, I think you'll want to move all your retirement money over to there. Here you actually have the option to set up recurring payments. So if you're already saving with capital, that'll go hand in hand with being able to send over savings to Betterment on a regular basis. But based on how much you're moving in, it'll also show you a projection of how much that money will grow over time given your portfolio setup. So if you want to see different numbers, you can type in different numbers here. Or if you have a specific retirement amount you want to get to, you can play with the numbers to see what it would take to get to that over time. So now we've created your account and your portfolio is set up. Step 3 is to link in your bank account. So they're going to ask you your security questions, which you put in before. Put in your answer and submit. Then you want to link the bank account that you want to use to fund your Betterment. So find it here, click on yours or type it in if you can't find it. Then put your bank's online login credentials here and submit. They'll tell you that you have to verify your email address to complete the deposit. So you'll have to go ahead and check your email. So if you flip over to your email, you find the email from Betterment, and then you click the Verify Now link. Then you just transition into step 4, which is to wait for your identity to be verified and have them do a background check on you and that kind of stuff. So you have to wait a few days. Once it's done, you'll get an email saying that you've been verified, and you'll get an email that you can log back into your account and finish transferring money into it, which will take you to step 5, which is to transfer money into your Betterment account to finish the process. So based on the amount you plan to deposit previously, it'll show you a forecast of how much that would grow over time, like we were just looking at, based on the expected performance of your portfolio. And like I said, it's fun here if you want to see how different deposit amounts would impact the amount you would have at retirement or some target date. Obviously, the more you deposit in and more frequently, the larger the number grows over time. So if you want to put a second layer to your automated savings, you can set it up here that is automatically depositing a certain amount every month into your Betterment account. So once you're set on the amount, you can click to initiate the deposit. It'll confirm that your deposit request went through. They say it should complete by the next business day. You'll get an email notification once it's done, but you actually don't need to do anything at this point because it'll already be on autopilot for you and you don't have to do anything more at that point. But the next day, you'll get the email confirmation. And what's awesome is that you're already done, like I said, so Betterment will be automatically investing that money for you according to the portfolio that you set up. But just for your mental comfort, you can go and hop back in there to your Betterment account and take a look at it if you want. But like I said, you don't have to. So this is what your Betterment dashboard looks like once you log into your account. And you'll see a summary of your account values if you have multiple accounts. And you can see the value of it go up and down with the investments over time. And then lastly, if you want to see the details of what's actually happening, you can click over to Portfolio up there, and it'll show you what is actually held in your account in terms of the investments. Because obviously the cash is not just sitting there. They've taken the cash and they've invested it into these specific ETFs to which we identified in your portfolio previously. So here we can see my account is worth $100 and 18 of those dollars have been invested into the US Total Stock Market VTI fund, which is a Vanguard Total Stock Market fund. And then another $18 have been invested into the US Large Cap Value Fund. $6 have been invested into the US Mid Cap Value Fund. $5 have been invested into the US Small Cap Value Fund. $41 have been invested into the Developed Markets Fund. And then $13 have been invested into the Emerging Markets Fund. So you can see the breakdown of where all the money is put. But like I said, you don't have to do anything at this point. It's all set on autopilot all the way. It's going automatically. You don't have to do anything. Whenever you want to move more money in to invest, you can do that as well. Or if you want to take money out, you can also transfer money out. That's up to you. But that's it. Once you've set up your account with Betterment and transferred money in there, you have automated your investing and you are set on autopilot to grow your savings into more and more wealth. So this is really the end game for your automated personal finance setup.